$35,000.
You were going to get $35,000 for this job?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And did you have another conversation in the car on the way to Tallahassee?
Yes, ma'am.
How many trips did you make to Tallahassee?
Like twice.
All right. And were both trips with Mr. Garcia?
Yes, ma'am.
Was anybody else in the car on either of those trips?
Not at all.
All right. Tell us about the conversation on the way to Tallahassee. Was this the first trip or the second trip?
This, the first trip.
All right. Tell us about that.
We were just taking a ride up there. My concern, I thought we were gonna go rob him. So,
Say that again.
and my concern, I thought we were gonna go rob him.
You thought you were coming to Tallahassee to do a robbery?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you assume that, or did somebody tell you that?
No, I assumed I'm like, you know, it was just a job.
All right. So you knew it was a job in Tallahassee, and you assumed it was a robbery. Did you learn something additional about what it was on the way to Tallahassee?
Yeah, and the way coming up, like halfway there, he said we're gonna have to kill the man. For some
Said you were
kids.
going to have to kill the man?
Yeah,
And what was the second part of what you said?
for some kids.
For some kids. All right. Anything else? What did that mean to you? Kill the man for some kids.
That's for a lady. I guess the lady wanted her kids back.
All right. So is this Garcia telling you this?
Yeah,
Did he have any information about who it was you were coming to Tallahassee to kill?
if you had information for who we coming to kill,
Yeah.
yeah,
What information did he have?
he had a piece of paper.
And where was the piece of paper?
He had it in his hand at that moment.
Okay. Did you see the piece of paper? Did you see what was on it?
Yes, ma'am.
What was on it?
A picture of the guy, what's his name?
Dan Markell,
Dan Markell.
the guy that y'all ended up killing.
Yes, ma'am.
That's the leading judge.
Overruled.
Is that the person whose picture was on the paper?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And was there anything else on the paper other than a picture of Mr. Markell?
I think it was the address in it too.
Okay. And who was doing the driving on this first trip?
He was.
Okay. And during the time that he showed you this paper, was he behind the wheel of the car?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And do you know where the paper was stored inside the car?
It was on the side of where you drive out by the door.
Okay. Who was responsible for getting the car to go on the first trip?
He did.
Mr. Garcia?
Yeah, he brought the car.
All right. So you didn't, or did you accompany him to rent the car for the first trip?
No, ma'am.
Do you know what your phone number was at the time of this homicide?
I think it was like either 786. I think it was like 290.
No, your phone number.
My phone number?
Yeah.
Shit. Man, I had two phones.
If I say the phone number, would you be able to say that was correct or not?
Let me hear it, please.
305-570-8153.
Yeah.
That was one of your phone
That was
numbers?
one of my phone numbers.
And then I also have a 305-934-6615.
934.
Was that a phone number that belonged to you?
Yeah.
Okay. And was there one number in particular that of those two that you took to Tallahassee?
I don't remember which one I took.
Did you definitely take one of them to Tallahassee?
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I want to ask you about the first trip. Do you know the date that you came to Tallahassee on the first trip?
The date. I can't remember, but no, I can't remember.
Okay. Does June 4th through June 5th sound correct?
Yeah, it was around June. Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
And that's of the year 2014, right?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So do you know, are you familiar with a ticket, a traffic ticket that y'all got in the area of Gainesville on that first trip?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. I'm going to show you what I've marked as State's Exhibit 81. You recognize State's 81?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that a fair and accurate copy of the traffic ticket that y'all received on this first trip to Tallahassee?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, and this was in the car that was rented by Mr. Garcia?
Yes, ma'am.
Who got the ticket?
I got the ticket.
All right. Judge, at this time, I'd ask to introduce an evidence 81.
Any objection?
No, not at all, Judge, not from Mr. Garcia.
No objection.
Be admitted.
What was the ticket for?
Speeding.
Okay, and so you were doing the driving, at least in the Gainesville area, is that right?
Yeah, we had switched for a minute, and he told me to drive.
All right. Do you know what time of day you arrived in Tallahassee on that first trip on June 4th?
In the morning, like around 5, 6 o'clock in the morning around there.
Okay. And would it refresh your memory to look at when this traffic ticket was received?
Let me see.
I'm going to draw your attention to the top right corner of this traffic ticket. Indicates that you received a ticket at 9:12 a.m. in Gainesville, Florida. Does that sound right?
Yeah.
It does? When you came to Tallahassee that first time, did you have any guns with you?
Yes, ma'am.
And what guns were in the car with you on that first trip?
We had 2 guns.
Okay.
2 38s.
2 38s?
Yes, ma'am.
And where did those guns come from?
One was his and one was mine.
One was whose?
Garcia's.
All right, and was that a gun that he acquired just for this trip or something he'd already had?
He already had it.
All right, what about the gun that was yours?
I bought it
Where did you buy it?
on the corner.
On the corner, so it was an illegal gun purchase?
Yes,
or-
ma'am.
And was which one of these guns, if either of them, ended up being the murder weapon in this case?
The one that I brought.
All right, the one that you purchased on the corner?
Yes, ma'am.
And that was before the first trip to Tallahassee?
That was the first trip.
All right, so what was the purpose of the first trip?
We came home to scope them out.
Okay, were you intending to commit the murder on the first trip?
It was supposed to, but we couldn't find them.
All right, so when y'all came to do the first trip, was any money exchanged?
Nah, he had money.
Who did?
Garcia.
How much money did he have?
He probably had, I think, from $2,000 to $5,000.
Between $2,000 and $5,000?
Yeah.
Okay, and did you know where he got the money from?
The money he got it from the people that hired him.
All right, and who is that? Did he tell you?
Nah, he didn't tell me yet.
Okay. Did he give you any money on this first trip?
Excuse me?
Did he give you any money for this first
He gave me a
trip?
couple of $100.
Okay. How many nights did you stay in Tallahassee on that first trip? If you remember.
I said like 2 nights.
All
2
right.
to 3 nights.
Where did y'all stay?
In a hotel.
Okay. And did you interact with a man by the name of Shadrach Nobles in the hotel?
Yes, ma'am.
And you said that you came here to do the murder, but you couldn't find him. What did you mean by that?
We had followed him and we
Followed who?
Markel.
All right. Where'd you follow him to?
Followed him all the way to a daycare where we kept losing him.
Okay. Where did you follow him? When you say you followed him to the daycare, where did you start following him?
Like, we had stopped by a park and watched him come out of his house.
So you knew where his house was located.
Yes, ma'am.
How did you know where Mr. Markel's house was?
Garcia pointed his house to me.
Okay. Was that something that was written on the paper?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, and you said you pulled into a park and waited for him. Where was the park?
I was in the corner by a light.
I'll show you what I marked as States 47. You recognize States 47?
Yes, ma'am.
Is this a fair and accurate aerial map depicting where you parked that day waiting for Mr. Markel to follow him or scope him out.
Yes, ma'am.
Judge, at this time, I'd ask to introduce States 47.
Any objection?
1 second. No objection from Mr. Garcia.
No objection.
Be admitted.
May I pose it?
You may.
Mr. Rivera, does this yellow dot here indicate where you and Mr. Garcia waited?
Yes, ma'am.
Right, and when you, had you already seen Mr. Markel's home before you parked here?
Yes, ma'am.
Right, and when he pulled out, did he pull out down this road right here?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, when you're talking about the light, are you talking about this intersection?
Yes.
All right, tell me where you followed him. If he came down this way, where did y'all go?
Pulled right behind him, and then he went straight.
Straight down through this light?
Yes, ma'am.
And is that when you followed him to the area of the daycare?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, and when you say you lost him, where and how did you lose him?
He had pulled up into the daycare. By the time we made a circle, I guess he had pulled down and left. So we can't loosen him.
All right, and when you talk about following Mr. Markel to the daycare on this first trip, who was driving when you all followed him to the daycare?
Garcia.
All right. Did y'all, you mentioned going by Mr. Markel's residence. Can you tell the jury exactly what kind of scoping out y'all did of Mr. Markel's residence on this trip?
Just driving through to see if we see his car, to see if there's somebody in the house. But we never got to see his car.
Did you ever pull around behind the house or go anywhere besides other than driving right in front?
Yeah, we went around the house.
Okay. Did you get out of the car?
No, ma'am.
Did Mr. Garcia get out of the car?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell us about that.
He got off, went behind the house, tried to see if somebody was in the house.
Who was supposed to be the shooter on this first trip?
I was going to be the shooter.
Did you make a suggestion to change the plan from shooting to something else?
Yeah, I found out for the kids. I ain't going to shoot nobody in front of no kids.
All right. When you saw Mr. Markel on the first trip, did he have his kids with him?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Why didn't the murder get done on the first trip? Is it because...
We lost him.
Okay. Did you ever observe Mr. Markel on the first trip where he was, I guess, separated from his children?
Excuse me?
Did you ever see him where he was in his car or in his home and the kids were not around that first trip?
Nah, he always had his kids.
Did y'all discuss plans to, I guess y'all went back to Miami, correct? After
Yes,
the
ma'am.
failed first trip. And was there any plans discussed about when to come back?
No, ma'am.
All right, what about between the two trips? Was there a conversation about the homicide or coming back to Tallahassee?
Excuse me, what two trips? The two trips?
Between the two trips, did y'all talk about when you're going to come back or?
No, when we left that first night, we didn't talk